Strange thing, isn't it? The Christingle. Let's have a look and see what we've got here. First of all, again, many congratulations and thanks to those who beavered away this evening putting Christingles together. I made a pattern and I said, I want 50 of those. And I came back into the room not long later and found 50 much better than the one I had made. So thank you all for that. So what have we got? This strange thing. Bizarre, isn't it? They've only recently come into this country, and they originated from middle of Europe, the Moravian tradition. And as I went to a Moravian school, we had it drummed into us what this was all about. So now you're getting my year 3 talk on what the Christingle is. All a bit better than that. First of all, it is, of course, an orange. Normal orange, nothing special about it. But the main thing about the orange is it's round, like the world. It would seem to us, churchy folk mainly, this is fairly obvious. Christ came into the world. But if you go out into the world and talk about God, you get some strange or questioning reactions. There are obviously many people who choose not to believe in God, and that's a great sadness, and hopefully we have some way of reaching them and encouraging them into the truth. But very often I hear, and I bet you do as well, well, if there is a God, he's not interested in us, not interested in the world. Now, those who know more about music than I do, which is anyone who knows about music, may remember a Johnny Cash song, I think it's a Johnny Cash song, so you may correct me afterwards, which starts, I don't believe in an interventionist God. Any advance on Johnny Cash? Nick, well, you see, that's as much as I know. So there we go. Well done, someone who really knows the song. But I do believe in an interventionist God because this is what this is all about. The God who came from wherever we believe heaven is and proved himself and his love to the world. So the start of the Christingle, as the start of the Christmas story, is the world. And that's what we've got the orange for. God isn't somewhere away from the world. God comes and is part of the world. And then we have strictly 4 cocktail sticks. Strictly 4 to represent, now let's not be geographically exact about this, the 4 corners of the world. Having just pointed out that it's a globe, obviously doesn't have corners, does it? But the point about 4 corners is very poetic, a bit like Psalm 139, where the psalmist says, I can't go anywhere and be away from your love. And so the 4 corners of the world, as represented by the 4 cocktail sticks, north, south, east, and west, tell I was in the Navy, everywhere is encompassed by God's love. You can't get away from God's love. Wherever you try and go, God's love has already been for thousands of years. The 4 corners of the earth, such as they are all within God's love. And then to move beyond the geography, to people. If you go to people who are different, God's love is there ahead of you. And whether that's race or sex or sexual orientation or whatever makes someone different from you, they might be at a different corner of the world. And yet God's love has beaten you to it, is already there. Then there are the sweets and the fruits. Thank you to those who left enough to make the Christingles. Obviously, God's relationship with us is that of blessing. It has been since the beginning of time. The fruits might represent blessings that we can name, or might represent blessings that we're not sure about, but are still there. The fruits are gifts from God, which we don't really deserve, but they come just as gifts, the blessings that God wants to make intrinsic in his relationship with us. Then there's a red ribbon, sometimes red tissue paper, depending on how you make these things. And that, of course, is the cost of all this to God, the blood of Christ himself. God's love for us is a costly love, costs him everything, his life. We get these blessings, we get his love, and he pays for them in a way that we will commemorate and celebrate in a few weeks' time at Easter. But it is a true cost. If the red ribbon represents Jesus' blood, it is also then proof that the tiny baby that arrived was really human, not a doll. And therefore, if the tiny baby that arrived was really human, as well as also being God, then in a few weeks' time, when we commemorate his death was for real and not a magic trick. Neither was the resurrection. The red ribbon points to the truth of Jesus' humanity and the true cost of God's love for us. Then there's my favorite bit, the fire. Oh, sorry, inside voice. Then there's my favorite bit, the candle. Obviously, we could probably all say it together, maybe. This is Jesus as the light of the world. And in a moment's time, I'm going to read the last of our readings, which of course is John's prologue, talking about light coming into the world. We like light, don't we? He says, peering through the light into the semi-gloom. Light makes us feel comfortable. Light guides us. Light shows out things that are not good sometimes, though, as well. We'll say in a moment, and you'll hear it in the reading, that the light came versus the darkness, and the darkness didn't overcome it. Well, that's jolly nice, isn't it? We can still see where we're going. But of course, this isn't the darkness of losing the electric light or whatever it is. This is the state of the world. You only have to look at the news if you are so inclined, and I must say I give up sometimes. And it's pretty obvious there's a lot of darkness in the world. I personally think this country is going through a very dark time, and quite scary time too. And the easy thing for me to say from the front here is, and look, it's just for a season. We know that the light has already come, and the darkness will not win. But the bit that's more difficult to say, and possibly more difficult to hear, is actually this darkness is only out there because it starts in here. And at Christmas, it's quite easy to let all the fun stuff get in the way of, or all the tiring stuff, and the washing up and all that stuff as well, get in the way of what it means for the light to encounter the darkness. How many of you thought of Christmas as a time of confession, as well as celebration? Looking inside ourselves and seeing that which is counter to the light. The way that we treat other people, the way we regard other people, or the planet. The way we may try to take advantage of other people, or dismiss them. That's the darkness. The darkness that can be scary when we look at things like crime statistics, when we look at people drowning in the Channel. All of that comes from not something out there that is bad, but something that is in here, which is the darkness. Things that make us feel guilty when we think about them, our own attitudes, which drive hatred and division. And I'm sure we all have them, whether we admit to it or like it or not. But the good news is, even in here, the bits that I keep locked away and no one can see, even in here, the darkness don't win. We don't win. Because this light is of God and will shine through the darkness and bring love where there's previously been hate. Sylvia is going to bring our prayers.